Hi everyone and welcome back. There's a good few people out there that will tell you that greyhounds are not the brightest of breeds. Don't listen, don't listen. In fact, some might even say that greyhound intelligence is a bit of an oxymoron. But would they be right? Let's find out. I have to say that when someone tells me greyhounds are a bit dim, I'm reminded of the Douglas Adams quote from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where he says, "On the planet Earth, man had always assumed he was more intelligent than dolphins because he had achieved so much. The wheel, New York, wars, and so on. Whilst all the dolphins had ever done was muck about in the water having a good time." Canine intelligence has been explored in great depth by scientists, typically using breeds that are quite quick to pick things up, things that humans want to teach them. And yes, it is true to say that training a greyhound generally needs a slightly different approach to the approach you might take with other breeds. I remember a while ago working with a reactive lurcher, seeing if I could teach him a technique called look at that. The idea with this technique is that you give a cue and the dog looks at you and the dog looks at whatever you're pointing at, and then they look back at you in order to get a reward. I'd been trying this with Gandalf here for a few months at that point, and we didn't have a great deal of success, did we, Gandalf? However, I was trying to teach this to a lurcher, and within 3 goes, he got it sussed. On that basis, you might be tempted to say that Gandalf is a bit lacking in the intelligence department. Or is he? We generally assess intelligence based on our own criteria, which usually means, does the dog do what we want them to do? What is going on? And does this mean it's fair to say that Gandalf is a bit dim, or floppy for that matter? Or should we interpret this a little bit differently? Is this very much a human interpretation rather than real assessment of canine intelligence? What are you doing? What is going on? Can we sit down? We're in the middle of the video. Let's think about some possible interpretations, different interpretations. Now things have settled down a bit here on the bench. First of all, is the thing that I'm asking of relevance to the dog? Does he see the point of it? Sight hounds are known for being very independent. After all, that is what they've been bred for. And doing what I ask is important to me. I may consider it very important that they do what I ask right now. But if they don't see the point of it, are they going to comply? They're not generally eager to please like some breeds are, but instead tend to carve their own path through life. Another possibility is that it isn't worth his while. Doing what I ask does not lead to an outcome that he considers valuable. He may not make the connection between responding to the cue and getting something that he feels is valuable. Or perhaps the reward I'm offering is not valuable enough to him in that situation. Could he be busy thinking about other things and too busy doing that to respond? He could be thinking about good things. He could be thinking about difficult things, such as the squirrel that's more exciting than me or the environment that's too scary. But these will stop him responding. And therefore, you might think, oh, he's not very bright. He's not doing it. But maybe he isn't able to do it in that situation because there is something that is interfering with his ability to comprehend that task. Perhaps also his upbringing has not prepared him for doing what I ask. Like most humans, dogs need to learn, and training, as most dogs understand it, isn't really a big part of growing up in the racing industry, which means that your average racer does not come to you understanding really what learning is about and may not even register how to do that. Intelligence to us is often seen as how many things they can learn to do on cue. And there have been dogs in the news and online who have learned literally hundreds of things, maybe hundreds of different names for different objects. So the person that is with them can say blue ball, in Gandalf's case, and they go next door and they fetch the blue ball. Or pink teddy, and they go and fetch the pink teddy. Now, is that intelligence or is this just memory? They've associated each word with a specific object. They can remember that this cue refers to this object. So they have a significant capacity for remembering lots of associations and discriminating between them. However, if their brain is anything like mine, it very quickly discards things that are not seen as important. So it does have to be important to them. So we're back to this issue of, do they see it as important? Is it relevant? A big part of intelligence in my book relates to an ability to solve problems, and a dog will often take an approach that comes most naturally to them. If you watch a spaniel out in the park, they'll be dashing up and down, quartering the field. That is a natural instinct that has been bred into them. That is what they do to hunt in the way that sight hounds chase. Seeking things out with their nose is how they solve the problem of finding things. However, if we think about a sight hound, that is not going to be the case. They don't typically hunt things out with their nose. That is something they have to learn. And I've had a number of greyhounds over the years that I have had to teach how to do a scatter feeding task. If I give Meggie a treat wrapped up in a piece of paper, she doesn't carefully unfold the paper to get to the treat. She locates the place where the treat is closest to the surface of that bundled up or scrunched up piece of paper, and she chews her way in. Is that bright? Is that dim? Or is it just a different way of approaching the problem? She wants the treat, and chewing it out is the quickest way to get to the treat. So she is solving the problem in the way that works best with her understanding of the world. Opening the paper up, unwrapping the treat, is a very human thing to do. If I gave that to any human, an adult, they would probably unfold it with their hands. But if I gave it to a baby, they might be more likely to put it in their mouth. As that baby grows up, society will tell them it's more appropriate to use your hands to deal with this. Don't put it in your mouth and chew it. And they learn that this is the accepted way of doing things. Which brings us to question, is Maggie's approach right or is it wrong? Is it intelligent or is it dim? Or is it just a different way of approaching the problem? And if we say she's not very bright because she doesn't unfold it, are we actually saying she is not bright by human standards rather than bright by doggy standards? Because you could argue that by doggy standards, that's pretty clever because she gets the treat quickly. AJ, on the other hand, just stands and looks at it and expects me to do it for him. Is that bright or is that clever or is that dim? He gets the treat, and he has a way of solving his problems, but the way of solving his problems is to ask me. Well, it's still a solution. So are we assessing canine intelligence based on how well it meets our expectations and ties in with our expression of our intelligence? Or are we looking at it from a doggy point of view? And if we flip that around, I wonder, like those dolphins in the Douglas Adams quote, how intelligent would dogs consider us to be? So coming back to greyhounds then, do they really lack intelligence? Or like those dolphins, do they just have a different perspective on life? Certainly AJ has got a very neat way of solving problems, and really for him that works. Why does he need to do it differently? Why does he need to learn a different way of doing it? Because I fix it for him. So he has an excellent solution. He can then focus on the important things in life, like having a long snooze, having a nice dinner, and finding good things to sniff. What do you think then? Let me know in the comments. Are greyhounds bright? Are greyhounds dim? Or do they just have the perfect solution? I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Bye for now. Look out for new videos every Monday, and why not subscribe so you don't miss out?